Welcome back, supply chain professionals. I hope you're doing well. I'm Brooke Elliott, and I am here to provide you professional development tips and tricks. Thanks so much for joining me today for today's episode of Taking Inventory with Power Supply. I am going to be continuing my discussion on positive intelligence or mental fitness. And if you've been watching the previous episodes, I have been providing great tools to have in your tool belt for when you face a challenge. And today's episode is going to be focused on one more way for you to actually tackle that challenge through a meditative practice. Last time I covered a meditative practice where you are actually focused on, looking at a particular object. Today, I'm going to actually cover two more that you can incorporate in that meditative practice if, say, that visual practice isn't a preferred one for you. Okay. So let's go ahead and get started. And I'm going to keep this again short and simple for you so that you can immediately start to implement these practices. And again, I'd love to hear if anything is resonating or if there's a particular one that I've mentioned that is really helping you. So we talked again about the visual aspect of the meditative practice and the opportunity to look at details and to focus and to really give yourself a space to calm down and to focus on something else, right? And to really transition from that negative emotional state to a positive one, or getting closer to a positive state. The other two are going to incorporate two more senses, okay? So we focused on the eyes first, and the next one would be touch. So with your hands, you can actually do a simple practice of just rubbing your fingers together or rubbing your hands together. Because this simple practice of touch, it actually allows you to focus on, what you're feeling. And when you do a simple action like this or like this, it's something that we don't typically do. You notice that it's highly sensitive, right? You're doing this with your fingertips. It's feeling the various nooks and crannies, but then like the just the small bumps on your hands even. It's it allows you to really pay attention to what that feels like. And then even with your fingertips, it just gives you the ability to focus your attention on something else, right? Besides what's actually happening in the situation. And with this meditative practice, you're just going to literally rub your hands, rub your fingertips together for, a period of time. And I would say, several minutes is the ideal goal for the amount of time that you spend doing it to bring yourself to a different state. But again, you can actually practice these things anywhere, right? So even if you're on a call or even a Zoom video call, you have the opportunity to take advantage of these tools. I'm rubbing my hands together and you're not seeing them. So, right, if you're experiencing a challenging situation and you've got to be on a virtual meeting, you can continue to implement this practice using this sense comparatively, compared to having to look around the room or look outside the window. So very, very easy to implement, and an activity that takes only a couple minutes for you to actually see a really great impact and results. Okay, so that's the second one. The third one is hearing. Okay, so we talked about visual, we talked about touch, and now the last one is hearing. Okay, so this is really focusing on what you hear in a distance. Okay, so it's very easy for us to concentrate on the sounds that are around us, right? It could be your phone going off. It could be, something in the kitchen. It could be your dog barking. It could be, say, your spouse on a phone call in the house somewhere. If you're at home, it could be, if you're at the office, it could be somebody talking on the phone next to you. It could be lots of different things. But with this practice, I actually want you to focus on the thing that you hear that's probably the farthest away, or that you can estimate is the farthest away. Now, for instance, for me, it could be the sound of a train. It could be the sound of a bird that seems to be in the very far distance, or it could be, say, a truck going down the road. It really depends, right, on the time of the day, the activities that are going on around you. But the goal here is to focus on that farthest distance sound and just listen, right? And notice, what's different about the sound compared to what you typically focus on. And if it is something that you might notice every once in a while, I want you to focus in on the sound and start to really think about how you would describe that sound. And maybe start even to try to visualize where that sound is coming from, right? If it's a train, where that train is, what it actually looks like going down the track. Or if it's a bird, is that bird sitting on a tree? Where could that tree be? Is it in, somewhere in your neighborhood? What kind of tree could it be sitting on? And maybe, what is its purpose in the song that bird is singing? Perhaps, right? So you're really digging deep into the sound that you're hearing. And it may be a practice that you've never done before. Maybe it's something that you actually practice regularly. And that's where I would say, in choosing one of these meditative practices, maybe try all of them. And again, if you're, in a particular place where only one of them makes sense, go to that one first. But when you have the opportunity to practice all of them, do that so that you can have one that you feel most comfortable with. So when you are in a situation, a complex, complicated, challenging situation, then you automatically feel comfortable and it's almost natural for you to go to a specific practice. Okay. But I do think that trying all three is great. It's beneficial so that you have the perspective of all three. And again, you are able to choose one that is most fitting for you specifically. Okay. So again, this part, I would say, like kind of like the piece of the puzzle is what we call the meditative practice that is in the middle of, when we first are challenged with a situation and we take that pause, then we go into breath. And then we recognize, what is it that we're facing and what is my emotional state? So this is then where we transition into this meditative practice of visual, touch, or sound or hearing. Okay. And then after that meditative practice for several minutes or for however long you can practice it, then that is when we actually start to implement those tools that I had suggested before, which were, activating the strength, what can you learn from the situation, or what inspiring action can you take? Okay. So today I am completing the entire process of what we call mental fitness or positive intelligence. Now, again, there are other things that are included in that practice, but for now, I am focusing on just the actions that you can take when you are challenged with a situation. Or faced with a challenging situation, or something that has caused you to go to that negative state. Okay. So I hope this has been helpful. Again, I would love to hear from you and to hear your experiences with these practices, any feedback that you have. I've seen people really benefit from these practices. I know that, I only suggest those things that have worked tremendously for me, myself, in challenging situations. I only adopt those things that I know work, and I've seen work not only for myself, but for others as well. So I hope that these practices are beneficial to you and that these are easy and simple enough for you to tell somebody else to perhaps consider in their life. Have them come watch these videos so that they can consider a different way to approach challenging situations. Looking forward to our next episode together. In the meantime, take care and keep on doing the great things you do in supply chain. Talk soon.